The biggest question, and I mean always the suicide question, is why. I mean, it's the most sort of significant. What else do you ask? You know, if you keep on going, it can pull you down. You'll never go anywhere if you keep going on why. You don't know what was going on in their heads. So this is the place where about 8 years ago my brother decided to take his life. He walked up the mountain and threw himself off the mountain on the other side. My second brother did the same thing. He gassed himself in his car. Our family definitely has depression running through it. I hadn't seen my brother for some time. He had phoned me that morning to ask me to borrow money, and as he never ever phoned me except to borrow money, I had made a decision that I would not lend him money anymore. He was a recovering addict, struggling. He'd been clean 7 years, but he said it was a battle every day. And he wrote me a lovely note, really, to say that this was the last mess of his that I'd have to clean up. And that he was not brave enough to carry on. It had been a struggle every day, and he wasn't born for this world. And I think he made the decision that was probably in his situation many of us might have made. Suicide is often a result of mental illness. This is definitely something that runs in the family. However, there must be some kind of nurture aspect to this as well. And I'm interested myself as why. I've lost a business, I've gone bankrupt, my husband had affairs, I've been through up and down. I've contemplated once or twice, sort of imagined if I drove past Miller's Point, imagine if I just drove the car straight, but I mean, it was just like a thought, like everybody has, I think, occasionally, but it was never a serious contemplation because I have children. And I would never have left my children like that. When you leave your parents to deal with it, or your children to deal with it, or your spouse to deal with it, it's really not easy, but then you obviously were just not in a position to make any other decision but that decision. Last year I lost a school friend, a person I was at school with in my high school, and she committed suicide. But it seems from all evidence that it was financial. We know that there is a stigma regarding suicide, otherwise people would talk about it a lot more, and they don't. Suicide is to do with choices we don't like because you gave up. Aside from the stigma, you feel, I wasn't there for my family member, so they committed suicide. The people that I know who have committed suicide seem to have been people who had nobody to talk to, okay, who had no good connections or no good relationships, because if I am feeling upset or freaked out or anxious or furious, I then think, who shall I phone? And I'm fortunate in my life I have quite a few people that I can that I trust and feel safe with and that I can talk to. Maybe that is not in the lives of other people. I suppose, we have so many ways of communication now, but we forget that actually what's the most important is to speak, to actually talk to each other, to look at each other. Disconnectedness feels like you're alone. There's nobody that you can talk to or feel safe or trust. Is it that person who commits suicide is a person who literally cannot talk to others about their problems or gets help? Where are people getting this connection?